Okay, today I'm going to be taking a look at the art of Rick and Morty from Dark Horse Books.
The hyper room. The hyper room.
This is a great book for any fan of Rick and Morty or any fan of animation in general. Now, I thought this book came out just last year, but actually it came out in 2017, published by Dark Horse. And yeah, it's just basically it covers, I think, the first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty. But I just got it last year, and it's a fantastic book. Like, if you're studying animation or you are just a huge fan, you cannot live without this book. Justin writes a foreword for the book, and basically what this book is it is the actual art of it. And it gives you a little bit of insight into the world of Rick and Morty from the design perspective. So here is a whole bunch of pages on Rick, how to draw Rick, how Rick is drawn, Rick's origins, and how he evolved from the beginnings of the animation to today. This is a great page. This is the kind of stuff I love to see. Rick Head Guide, how to do's and don'ts and how to draw Rick. Did you know that his hair has to have 12 hair points, right? Did you know that his ear is half of a circle? And did you know that there's a special way to draw his nose, right? So these are just amazing little tidbits that you don't normally see, that's really quite detailed in this book. Even how he burps, his unibrow, how it's drawn, even how he blinks. Another inconsistency from the pilot was blinks. Man, that pilot, bro. There were 4 different blinks used in there. So guess what? Going to the series, we decided to pick one and stick with it. So of course, I think that not only is this planning important for the character, but it's also important for the production. To make it easier, everybody knows what's going on. It doesn't change, like a human doesn't change. So why would an animation character change? So this is really good. More stuff on him. Lots of artwork here. It's cool. Interdimensional Rick. So yeah, these are just, someone's designed all this stuff. Their team has designed every single potential Rick from the different dimensions. Tiny Rick, even drawn. Someone's drawn out exactly what he looks like from a baby. Well, I guess maybe not a baby, but like a tiny Rick of an older Rick. Council of Ricks. Bodybuilding Rick. They obviously use this to make the figures, that action figures that came out. Cronenberg Rick, we need an action figure of this. And a whole bunch of pages on Morty. So this is also super interesting to see. I just love how Morty's hair is drawn. He doesn't have any sideburns. How he falls even. How he breaks his leg. All this got to be thought about. The Morty body guide, this is quite interesting. He's not bell-shaped. He's not muscle man shaped, and don't draw the t-shirt too extreme as a bell. Don't draw his bum like this. His bum should be flat no matter where it's going, and it's coming out of the bottom of the shirt. He has no knuckles, and even the fingers are small, like hands of an 8-year-old girl. These are the notes they give to each other on the design of his character. It's great. Do give enough meat under his mouth. Don't lose his chin. Dog. All these great facial shots. Even nipple shots. Everything about Morty is here, so the artist can figure it out. Even the interdimensional Mortys is great. Evil Morty. It's just amazing when you look through this book to see the amount of detail that's thought of from every character. I mean, these are okay. Well, this is obvious. The main characters like Summer and Jerry, all the main characters, of course. Let's see as much as we can, detailing them. So since they're reused every episode, you need to know a lot, even how they would die or get shot. All the interdimensional versions of the character make it weird. I mean, just looking back at this is so funny. Looking at Beth. All the dimensions of Beth. Even Xenobeth. I mean, look at this. How many designs they went through. Give it that alien look, but not too alien. Jerry's family. Okay, so the rest of this is just great because look at this. The detail on the high school characters. I mean, okay, sure, some of them we see a lot of, but some of them, I mean, they're just background. all designed. Everything's thought about. Bird person. Original bird design. Not bulky enough. Look a bit more like a Dan Harmon. He looks like that character from Buck Rogers, which I think is what they went for. That character Hawk from Buck Rogers, that was his friend. Mr. Poopy Butthole. They wanted Richard Simmons to do the voice. They sent him a script, but he turned it down. So end up, of course, Justin did the voice instead. Very interesting. So there's a little piece of trivia when somebody asks you who was supposed to play Mr. Poopy Butthole. Here's Squanchy, the name for Squanch Games, Morty Jr., Jessica, Brad, Tammy. Everybody gets a page in here. Principal Vagina, Mr. Goldenfold. Where's he been? Let's bring him back. He's great. Chapter 2, Neighbors, Aliens, Mutants, and More. So this is all the monster stuff. These are usually the stuff that you see at the beginning of the episode that we still haven't necessarily seen in the episode. Dog robots. So it's just great to see this. Mr. Meeseeks, original designs. What did he look like originally before they came up with this design? Right? Justin does the voice. Wanted to keep Meeseeks super simple, naked with no clothes. When are we going to bring him back? Mr. Meeseeks is a great character. Gomflamites, Stair Goblins, Giants. So, looking at an animation production, when we see, when we're like, where's the new episode? Where's the new episode of Rick and Morty? I mean, look at all the work these guys are working on probably right now. I'm recording this as the season 4 halfway mark has gone past. We're waiting for the back end 4 new episodes or 5 new episodes. So obviously they're still cramming this stuff out, right? Look at all the design work that goes into it. Look at this. When they created an episode like the one with Unity in it, like all the hosts that were in it, someone's going to design all this. They must have really worked their staff pretty hard on all this, because those first episodes had so many characters, like this one, all the memory parasites. Look at that page. I just love this shot and everybody in it. They're used for like a second and then they're thrown away. I also want to say something about the toys. I want to see more toys. Whoever's making the toys. Cromulons. We need a Cromulon, scale to the figures. Box figure. We need that. This is interesting to point out. Miniverse. This character looks a lot like Trover. Purge people. I mean, we don't need action figures, Maybe we just need like figurines, little plastic ones, small ones of everybody. They've done it for Simpsons. They've done it for South Park. Let's get it together, people. Rick and Morty. Need more of these characters. These original designs for Scary Terry. Always had that Nightmare on Elm Street kind of a vibe, but a little bit different. Body Explorers. Mr. Jellybean. There's an amazing shot you'll see later on, a cut scene in here. How much of this do you think they are either drunk or stoned when they're coming up with it? I just don't understand how these minds work sometimes. Therapy retreat. They're just trying to make each other laugh, and then it becomes a thing. When you have super talented character designers to bring it to life. Human extras. Just look at this. This is all the people that live in the Rick and Morty universe that are just background filler people. I don't think they have names, but they're just here. I mean, we know the post office guy, the postal worker, the aliens. Everybody's thought of, okay? And then technology. This is a very important part. This is something I love looking at. When I was younger, I'd read a comic from Marvel called The Marvel Universe, the official handbook, and it would show you all the weapons and every single character, every single alien. So this is kind of what this reminds me of. Rick's ship is like, we see it a little bit. We don't really know what it looks like inside, but they do. They've designed every angle of the ship, the cockpit. They know what powers it. I did not even know this, but I guess there is an episode. The Ricks must be crazy to talk about it, but they define it in here so you know more about it. The other ships and vehicles. Oh, they do some 3D modeling. But look at this. It's great. The weapons. Even the purge weapons. Gadgets. This is also another very big part of the Rick and Morty show, or the gadgets, like the portal gun. All the Rick's tech ending up in recycling bins and boxes. So good. Look at all this stuff. Interdimensional cable. I mean, what? They have designed for everything. And this is a great way to show it off and show all the hard work that goes into the show. You know, in the 20 minutes that we see the show every week, there's so much to absorb. You know, how many times I've watched the episodes and saw something new. I mean, after you look at this book, you'll look at the show again in a new light because you'll be able to see the detail of the Smith house, right? They even have a blueprint of it and how it works and how each of the rooms look. They can reuse those, that's fine. But then, you know, the reg sub basement, look at this. You know, you can really go very, very detailed and see what's in the background of some of these. What have we not seen in the show yet? But, you know, the Earth environments, the high school they go to, Anatomy Park, you know, they're never going to do another Anatomy Park, I don't think. But you got this background to look at. Just study all this stuff. Even the Titanic sequence, another great episode. Get Swifty. There's the speakers. Fantasy environments. Who's that guy? That's what I'm saying. I look at this stuff. I don't remember some of these characters. I gotta go watch that episode again. The Thirsty Step, Giant World, Never Past Bedtime Land, Ziggurat. Oh my God, there's just so much stuff in here. Citadel of Ricks. I'm sure we'll go back to that again in season 4. Evil Rick's base. Gear Town. Unity's World. Look at this. Oh my God, it's just incredible. So just studying this is just fantastic, and I think that you definitely need to get a look at it if you're into it. My favorite chapter is chapter 5. It's because it's the production chapter. So this is, to me, the best because it kind of shows you a little bit more about the background of Rick and Morty. So here's just a short page about Doc and Marty, the original, I guess, I don't know, call it pilot that Justin Roiland came up with. I believe this is on YouTube, so if I can find it, I'll link it down in the notes for this episode so you can watch it. But basically, animation's terrible, but this is it. This is where it was all born. And then they moved it into this. And, of course, this is the real, you know, new show. The excitement of Rick and Morty coming to life here. A lot of comments and notes on the episode design. There's a whole thing here on scripts. So one of the people, one of the writers, Ryan Ridley, they kind of break apart some of his scripts here. So you can see, I guess he writes it out and they sit around and they make comments on it. They write notes on it. They're doodling on it, things like that. So it's a very creative process. I think this is where all the magic actually happens, is in this process. Once they get this down, probably the rest of it's a little bit smoother because they have such a great backup team. We're sketching all the time, giving up the crazy ideas. Art director, the cat people, sorry, sketching it as they're talking about it. This is what I find to be fascinating. All the post-it notes and things like that, where people are just drawing stuff, come up with ideas and shapes and things like that define the entire world of Rick and Morty. It's not just Justin and Dan; it's all these other people involved, and the storyboard people. So after all that script is done, this is like the next essential part, is actually breaking it down into like a comic book so that the animators can follow this to find out what happens in each sequence. I hope they publish a book on the storyboards alone because I'd love to see this. I've seen it for Adventure Time. I've seen it for some other shows, so I'd like to see this for Rick and Morty, of course. This is a storyboard here. I think it's a very important scene. It came from the Me Six and Destroy episode, and it is a very violent cut sequence of Morty basically killing Mr. Jellybean in the toilet. So, I mean, you can just see from this page alone how gory it was. Either it was cut because it was too much, or it was cut because it is too disturbing. Probably, I'd say maybe that part. Hopefully they'll animate it one day. The writer's room, this is another great part of the whole thing. This is like the magic where it all happens. I think this is interesting to see these guys just sitting around, working on this stuff. Matt Roller, Ryan Ridley sitting around with probably Justin and Dan hammering out the scripts. This is another very amazing reveal. It's the Dan Harmon's story chart. How do they actually make a story, and how does it have to follow somewhat of a formula for the story for how Rick and Morty would come out of an episode? And I think they use this to structure the episode so that there's a thing. It's not just some random stuff that's actually, because it's quite detailed, right? Some of these time travel ones you watch, some of the other episodes are quite detailed. They must be following some kind of formula or some kind of progression chart so that it makes sense at the end of it. And I think that this is quite interesting. Not to mention only that there's photos of the whiteboard with the very first ever drawings of like gearhead and bird person. So it's very interesting to see this kind of stuff. So when they're talking about this, they're like doodling around in the back, giving ideas of what it's going to look like. It is work, right? There's Justin from that board doing some more sketches of some of the other characters. I'm sure if somebody drew this for me, I would start laughing. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I think they're trying to do to each other. Here's a cork board here of how they write them and then the order of airing. I'm not sure why it's out of order like that, but it's quite interesting how they do it. Here's the season 2 writers together. So I don't know if they're still the same writers outside of Dan and Justin, but the other guys are all part of the team. And so here is the final page. Basically, it shows, very importantly, the directors, the designers, the color keys, background painters, storyboard artists, and a special thanks to the people who work, I guess, at Adult Swim. But this is like the main group here, the designers and storyboard artists and the background painters. I guess their work is all in this. Somebody had to compile all this stuff. But these are the people behind Justin and Dan who really do a lot of stuff. Even James Dermott, the art director, is a very big part of this process that doesn't get a lot of shout outs. But this is great. It's an amazing book. It's available now. It's about $40 US. It's in cooperation with Adult Swim and Dark Horse Books. It's fantastic. It's not that thick, but as you can see, it really is the ultimate Rick and Morty collectible, I'd say, and time capsule of what happened. The insanity behind the show. So go out and grab yourself a copy if you don't have one yet, and we'll see you back on the channel for more stuff. If you like this episode, please click subscribe and tell your friends about it. Thanks.